All right, everyone. So I was in New Orleans last week. I got to play one session here at Harrah's. This game runs every Friday and Saturday, and to my knowledge, it's the only PLO in town. So let's get into it. About 20 minutes into the session, I looked down at ace-7-6-6, single suit in the cutoff. There's one limp to me. I also limp. Jackson to my left, he's from North Carolina. He's just in town for a friend's wedding. He makes it 25. Both the blinds and the limper call to me, and I make the call. So we're going 5 ways to a flop. Well, comes 4-3-2 with 2 clubs. Checks to me. I bet 95, and everyone folds, so we take it down. Here, look down at ace-jack 10-3, single suit in middle position. There's a limper to me. I also limp. I mentioned Jackson to my left. He's definitely the table aggressor, and going along with my limping and kind of keeping pots small strategy, I just decided to limp. I don't really want to raise with this and get 3-bet, so I just prefer to limp, but planning to make the call, obviously. Jackson makes it 25, 3 callers to me, and I make the call. So again, we're going 5 ways to the flop. Action actually checks all the way through to the river after the board comes out 10-9-2 queen king. I bet 40. Jackson makes the call over to a late position player who makes it 140. And obviously with the nuts, I definitely want to put in as much money as I can, but I also believe the late position player has the same hand as me. So instead of raising, I just decided to call to potentially invite Jackson along. But he doesn't take the bait and folds, and I turn over my hand, and the late position player turns over ace-jack 7-5 double suited, so we're chopping it up here. Here, look down at queen 10 8-6 single suited on the button. There are a couple limpers to me, and this hand's not really that great, but I am on the button, so if you are going to play hands this week, it's definitely better to play them on the button as opposed to an early position. So I also limp. Jackson makes it 25, 4 callers to me, and I also make the call, so we're going 6 ways to a flop. Well, comes 10-6-2 rainbow, checks to an early position player who bets 155 with only 20 behind, folds to me, and I'm not going to really slow play this here. I kind of just want to isolate against the short stack, so I go ahead and repot, and everyone folds back to the short stack who makes the call. So we're going heads up to a run out. The turn brings another 6, river brings a king. I turn over my hand and my opponent mucks, and Jackson actually tells me that he folded pocket kings, so it's definitely a good thing that I raised to get him to fold on the flop, and we're taking it down. Here, look down at ace queen jack 3 single suit in middle position. There's one limp to me, I limp. Jackson makes it 25, 4 callers over to me, and I call, so we're going 6 ways to a flop. Well, comes 6-6-2 rainbow, small blind leads 75, folds to me, and I also fold. So I just wanted to take a quick second to talk about the best strategy, in my opinion, for when you have this situation, an aggressive player on your left. And I think playing how I typically play, playing passively, is actually the best way to do it. This player is going to build pots, and a common trap people are going to fall into is they're going to be so focused on the aggressive player that they're going to make some plays with medium strength hands that they wouldn't otherwise make. And that's just going to allow you to kind of go for like big back raises. Pre-flop, obviously I've done the kind of like limp under the gun aces move and go for the back jams, work pretty well. But even post-flop, you can slow play a lot more commonly, which is usually a mistake. But if you have an aggressive player like this on your left, it's going to be c-betting with a very high frequency. You can just check these monster hands. He's going to bet like he typically does. And other people are going to kind of get caught in the crosshairs where you can just go for a huge check raise and either take down a lot of dead money or get the money in as a pretty big favorite. Here, look down at ace queen jack 4 double suit in early position. Player to my right limps. His name's Sean. He's originally from the Maryland area. Pretty cool guy. I also limp. Jackson makes it 25. Small blind, big blind, and limper call to me, and I also call. So we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes 8-7-4 with 2 clubs. Checks to me. I check in hopes of check raising Jackson to my left, but he sniffs out the bait and checks back. So we're still going 5 ways to a turn. Turn brings a 2. Another player named Sean over in seat 1 now leads 75. Really nice guy. He typically plays at the Best Bet down in Jacksonville, and he was just in town visiting for a little bit. Over to the big blind, who now pushes for about 175 total. Folds over to me. I definitely would have called the 75, but now being up against 2 players with only 1 card to come, that obviously decreases my flush draw quite a bit. And Sean has a pretty big stack, so he can definitely go for the back raise to isolate if I did make the call. So for those reasons, I decide to fold and folds over to Sean, who makes the call. So they end up going heads up to a river. I caught the conclusion of the hand. The river brought a 9. The big blind turned over his hand. He has 9-6-6-5 for the flop straight. And Sean in seat 1 mucks, and big blind's going to take it down here. Here, look down at ace queen 10-8, single suited in the small blind. Early position player makes it 15. 2 calls to me, I call, and the big blind calls. So we're going 5 ways to a flop. While comes ace queen 8 rainbow, and while I should have the best hand here, I'm not going to really want to see any straight connecting card. So don't want to really slow play and leave a free card for anyone. So I just lead for 75 over to the original raiser who makes the call, and everyone else folds. So we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings a 4. My opponent only has a little bit under a pot-sized bet left, so I just bet enough to put him all in, and he thinks a bit and makes the call. So we're going heads up to a river. River looks to be a pretty good card for us in a 2. I turn over my hand, and my opponent mucks, so we're going to take it down here. Here, look down at ace 9, 7, 6, single suited on the button. There's an early position raise 15. 1 call to me, I call, and both the blinds call. So we're going 5 ways to a flop. Well comes 9, 6, 5 with 2 diamonds. Jackson in the small blind leads 25. 2 callers to me. And if there wasn't diamonds out there, I would have probably raised, having top 2 pair with a straight draw. But as such, I make the call, and we're going 4 ways to a turn. Turn brings a jack of diamonds. Jackson now pushes for his remaining $100. Over to Sean, he goes ahead and pots it. Folds to me, I make the fold, and they're going heads up to 2 rivers. Rivers bring a 5 on the top and a queen on the bottom. Jackson turns over 10, 9, 9, 3, so he flopped top set and made a boat on the top board. And Sean turns over the ace 7 of diamonds, so he made the nut flush, and he's going to take down the bottom board, so they're going to chop it up. Here, look down at king, king, 8, 5, single suited in middle position. There's an early position limp, I limp. Jackson makes it 15. 2 callers to me, and I call, so we're going 4 ways to a flop. Well comes 9, 6, 3 with 2 spades. Checks to me, I check, and action checks through, so we're still going 4 ways to a turn. Turn brings a 7, checks to me, I bet 35, and there are 2 callers, so we're going 3 ways to a river. River brings a 10, checks to me, I check, and Jackson checks back as well, so I turn over my hand, and we're good, so we're taking it down. Here, look down at ace, ace, jack 4, double suited under the gun. I make a 15, and there are 5 callers, so we're going 6 ways to a flop. Well comes jack 3, 2 rainbow, checks to me, I bet 50, folds over to the small blind who basically min clicks me to 110 with about 300 behind, and folds over to me. So I don't know a ton about this player. He has played a decent amount of hands, but really hasn't gotten out of line. And the line he took is almost never a bluff. Pretty much the check raise min click. He also calculated before he raised, what was left in his stack. So if I call, the pot's going to be about $300, which is pretty much what he has left behind. So not only am I going to have to call the 60, I'm going to have to most likely call the $300 on the turn. And I just decided to pick a better spot and fold. I played a couple hands after the double suited aces hand, nothing of note. I played for about 3 hours total and decided to rack up. What's up, guys? Wayne back here with you. So today I was in for 400, out for 930, so profit of 530. I ran into the poker room manager as I was cashing out, and I asked her if they would host us for a meetup game, and she said no, and that was kind of it, all she said. So doesn't look like we'd be able to get a meetup game here, but definitely looking forward to traveling a little bit more sometime soon. And if you guys haven't seen the previous episode, I'll link it up here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.